Hi guys, how are you? This is Pano. So, testing is over, really over this time. And before I send this knife back, I said I'm gonna make a video, last video with it. I'm gonna play with it a little bit in the meantime. So, I use this knife to do 3D process. And one of them, at least one of them, I processed it for dog food. And the first one I did for dog food, and even when I do the deer for dog food, I skin it. I did skin before with the SK, but after I got the SK, I got into the other knives. And I didn't give it so much. I used it. I like carving a lot, so I use it more for carving, and instead of a lot of deer process, because I didn't get a bear this year that I was hoping that I would do some bear process with this knife or the Northern Woodsman. So I was waiting for that, so I didn't really use it. So when I got this knife in AEB-L, I said, perfect, it's still hunting season. So I'm gonna, first chance I get, I'm gonna use it for my deer. So let me tell you guys, you know, we say how the SK, the design is good for many things, survival, and it is very good for survival, because I don't think people realize how much what having a knife for survival situation means. It means you can do everything with it. And it doesn't mean you're gonna go and beton logs with it and break doors and stuff. Most of the time you're gonna do, like, let's say, game process for me. And if I'm gonna have a knife and waiting for the day to use it to break things, and it's not that good for anything else, then it's not a really good purchase. So this knife here, I wasn't expecting it to be so good like it was for game process. And it's been one of the times I used this knife for over 2 hours. I got 2 hours constantly using a knife. And that's when you really know how good the knife is. Because when you're skinning the whole animal and you're putting your hand in different positions to work through the fur and skin, and then process the meat, that's when you really tell how good the knife is. All those grinds, all those different grind bevels, that same bevel, but the grinds inside, the primary grinds that William does, they're all different angles, and they all have its purpose, different purpose. So it really came to play. The more stuff you do with that knife, the more you realize what are those grinds for. And like I said, before I get to the game process, doing everyday, daily things, and I was really testing the steel, not so much the design again. But you can't just test the steel when you're doing all this kind of stuff and not test again the design, because the design comes in place either you like it or not. Unless you're only cutting tire tube, that I usually do. And the tire tube, I notice it's all the AEB-L that comes out from William. They're about over 80-90 cuts consistently. They're from 75 to 82, 83. They're about 10 cuts difference on the AEB-L. So every time I do it, I'm within, I'd say, 5 cuts, maximum 10 cuts, depending. If I make a little bit rougher edge on the when I sharpen it, then I can do easily more than 90 cuts. But I'm pretty good feeling that the edge is gonna be rough, so it's gonna last way longer. So I just put it back on the ceramic rod and get it back to a more polished, like more finer edge, not polished. We don't polish. So I wasn't expecting it to be so good for game process, and especially when I was the way I did it is first I skinned it. So first I got it, then I skinned it, then I did the meat, and I think not really that I had to, but I did it. I give it a touch up on the third deer, I think, in the middle of it. But the first one I didn't touch it because I wanted to see if it can do the whole job without doing anything with it. And but if I seen that it would not, like it would be not safe because it's dull, I would touch it up. But I didn't have to. Of course, the edge was affected, like it wasn't shaving. But when you're chipping bone and after bone and the ribs and after of course you're gonna lose the edge. If you wouldn't lose the edge, that knife would be impossible to sharpen. So the way it is, to me, the balance of this AEB-L that William has it's perfect. It's very usable steel, and I think it fits right on for a survival knife because it's so easy to sharpen and it lasts so long that those two don't equal each other. Usually the knife equals, like if it's too easy to sharpen, that means it doesn't hold edge for a long time. This one is not, it's different. It's the only steel I've seen like this so far, which that's why William put all this effort to make it so perfect the way he likes it, because of those qualities that this steel has. So guys, besides the steel now, like the SK, it's a phenomenal knife. It really is. I'm not just saying that. It's again, I felt like the first time when I started using it the first time. You'll see, you've seen through my videos by now, because I still haven't posted any videos because I'm waiting for the release of the knife. So the time you see this video, you've probably seen the other ones. You'll see how much stuff I've done with it. I've done with this knife, and it had no problems. Anything I put it through, it had no problems. Like anything from fine tasks, my spoon carving that I do a lot, my just whittling, playing around, making notches for no reason, everything I do with this knife, it's just a joy to use. And sometimes, like I said, especially with the game process, it will be 2 hours in my hand, keep using it, chopping, cutting. You don't really push hard when you're doing meat, like when you making, let's say, spoons and stuff. So it's not so strenuous work, but it's still, I feel like it wasn't strenuous work because this knife is so good on doing all those kind of tasks. But I was thinking, like, I gotta get this knife somewhere that I don't really like how it is, and see why, but I couldn't get it to that point. The length of the blade is perfect length for my hands, and like I said, even people with little bit smaller hands, they can use that. I don't know about females, but right off the bat, I don't know if they can use this knife and how comfortable it is. To the ones I gave it to, they were like, it's a little bit too big for me. But for every male I passed this knife, they like it. They're like, wow, it's an impressive looking knife. I don't know, like I really haven't found this knife to be in a task that it cannot perform well. What else? When you get this knife, you're gonna have to figure out the bevels on your own. The way I figured out the bevels so far in this knife, okay, my feather sticks I do with this portion of the blade. This portion I do my feather sticks. Again, do you have to do feather sticks? We had this conversation in the spring. I don't. I never had to. I do it because I like it. But I never had to say to start a fire, do feather sticks. I always have my own tinder. I have my tinder bag from Randy Smith, my buddy. And I carry some tinder in there and I use my ferro rod and up I go. But for my pleasure, I like to, you know, practice those skills in case I ran out of tinder. But that I ever had, when I have to have a fire, I just get some bark. I showed in another video in the past, and that's how I do it. With this portion here, the sweet spot we call it, this groove, is when I do my animal process, the legs around the legs, to cut around the legs, or you want to cut some rope or whatever you do. And now I see this knife being in AEB-L, you can even get all this edge even sharper. I think I lowered from 11 degrees that William has it. I think I went even less than 11 degrees on this knife. Let me show you. Because I've sharpened this knife a lot, you see? Look how thin this bevel is. And now it's like, it's a razor blade. For a 3/16 thick knife, those bevels are insane thin. And that's why this knife splits good, because it's got a long wedge to go in, and then you get to the 3/16 and pop. It splits any batoning, dream. It's a dream knife to baton with. So we're up to here. Here we have those cuts for rope or whatever. Feathers, drawback. This is your drawback too. When you want to whittle and you want to pull to you, this is the bevel you use. So then you get to the flat area of this knife. This is the only flat spot this knife has. So this is where I was doing my slicing with this flat edge. So when you're using the knife, you see how it would do nice slicing. And you would you see the tomato and stuff I was cutting, my kitchen prep. Then you have your point here. This is where you skin. This is a skinning. You'll see, you've seen it. This is a skinning knife. That thick, panel? Yeah, that thick. That's a skinning knife. And this back here, it's for when you don't want to take the silver skin like I show you in the videos, because you want it to dry up nice so you don't dry up your meat. This is where you use this angle here to do the cut. And then you skin it, and when to start it with this. Then you have your point for piercing, for fighting, like a karambit. You got the angle for controlling things out of your way, pushing things out of your way, blocking a knife. Amazing knife, amazing knife. And of course the spine, except this part here that we talked about, you can even use it for your ferro rod, scrape your ferro rod. Then you have a straight, you can use it as a hammer. Here I use it for my ferro rod, because it has this curve. And then not only for ferro rod, for scraping, taking bark off. Just scrapes the bark off to whatever you do. But it works good for ferro rod because of this angle. It directs the spark a little better than any other knife without this. So this is my little guide about this knife, and especially now in AEB-L, it's gonna be very easy to sharpen. You can even grab a rock, any shape, because the easiest knife to sharpen, it's not Scandi, okay? It's flat. It's anything that has a secondary bevel, which is flat or convex or anything with secondary bevel like this. It's the easiest because you get a rock, and you go through your edge. Doesn't have to be a flat rock. Okay, so that's my final little talk on the SK. I hope you guys enjoyed those videos I made, and I ordered mine. If you guys are interested, order yours. You won't be disappointed. There's not many options on true survival knives, and this is the best option. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.